So this journey will be around 2 hours. We try to make a break in the middle after 1 hour. Let's see how we get through. We have many topics, many modern work principles with us. So we are not 100% sure if we will get through all of them. If not, we will, via Andrew, send you the additional questions, etc., so that you have everything in the end anyway. So that's our main idea. And we are really happy talking to you in beautiful Uganda. We loved it being there. So nice and friendly people. For sure, the Rolex. How could we forget?
Never.
And now I would say we jump into our session. We have a PowerPoint with us, so we will also present you a little bit. And then we hope that you can take many things for your freelancing job, so that you really can also improve when it comes to modern ways of working.
One advice in addition, please take notes. Feel free to ask if you have some question. Just show us that you have question and we can answer it on the fly.
Okay, then it's time to share the screen. Okay, so today is all about unlocking the power of modern work principles for you as freelancers. And we thought it could be interesting for you to base the whole session on our global journey that Andrew already mentioned. It's called Modern Work Tour. And we bring you some learnings from the 55 countries we visited in the last 5 years.
So as Andrew introduced us already, we are Niels and Anna. By the way, Andrew, we met at the university, and guess who was the teacher of Niels? So I educated him very well, I hope. And you also mentioned it very well. It's like we have our own consultancy called Movo Mind. Movo Mind stands for Modern Work Mind. And our idea and our mission at Movo Mind is to support small and medium-sized companies in order to create the future of work. So how can people within the company work with new technology in a healthy way, how we can communicate in a better way, and how we can put our best self in front of the company. So that's questions we are asking, and there are already 2 books. The first one, The New Work Hacks, is also in English available. So if you want, you can go on Amazon and book it. And also the Modern Work Tour, unfortunately, right now only in German, but we are working on the English translation.
So let's talk little bit about the modern work tool, so that you understand the concept behind the modern work principles. When we researched modern ways of working and the future of work worldwide, we always went to different organizations, companies, thought leaders, and with them we discussed and worked on the topic modern work. And in all, we had around 250, 260 meetings, and we kind of took everything we learned and kind of thought about, okay, how can we condense it into certain principles, and what is something we saw around the world. And we came up with 9 principles for modern work, and these 9 principles are also the principles we want to present you today. And here on the picture you see some meetings. One is also with Craftmind in beautiful Uganda.
So take a look.
Yeah.
Where's Rachel?
Where's Rachel, right? That is what we want to do.
This means I don't know if it is on my side. The slide is stuck. Slide 1 is still on the screen. Did you move it?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we moved it already.
We moved already. Good to know. Let's try it again.
Is it now better?
Still slide 1. I don't know if it's on my side. Another person can unmute and tell me. Okay, now we see you.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Okay, so it's now a new slide there.
Yeah. Though it's not in full screen, but we can see the whole slide.
Here it is in full screen. So everything I see now. Do you see the change now?
Now we can see the slide. We can see the slide with a lot of photos, collage.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Perfect.
And when we swipe further right now, can you see the change in the slides?
No, still same slide.
That is interesting.
So we have to figure out that.
Yeah, okay. So we will work on that. Some technical problems with Google Meets, but I think we will manage. Okay, so we will talk a little bit more and show a little bit less. I think that would be a good solution, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Also, sharing the whole screen maybe instead of a single tab.
I do that already. That's the thing. I'm
Mm.
already
Can
sharing
try.
the whole screen.
Maybe you
Or we can just see the slides even if they are not in full screen. It's okay. They are big enough.
Okay.
Mm.
Okie dokie. Then we go back into the full screen and now back into the slides.
now you should see our tours. So you see, in best case, you see the world right now.
Yeah.
If you take a closer look, you can see we visit like nearly everywhere. So we started in Hamburg and went through the east, like till Sydney in Australia, then back to Germany, and then we went to Africa, to the African continent, to the west, east, and south side of Africa. And then we continued after the pandemic, we continued to South America, Central America, and North America. So in total, we visited 55 countries on all continents, except the Antarctic. But I think we cannot research there for modern ways of working. So I think we now ended the tour, and we're very happy that we could see so many things on our beautiful earth and visit so many interesting people and companies who are all do something else, something different.
Yes. Andrew, I will switch the slide now. Do you see a new slide now?
No, we are still seeing the yellow slide with the globe.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I will stop the presentation right now for a second and we will just talk like this. I think that is.
Or I could share for you. You could send it on email and I share for you this side.
Yeah, we can do that. I think it is a way too big because it has many pictures. Let me check. But I think it's not possible, but we will manage. I will improvise. I think it's no problem. I will just go into the slide when it's really needed. And then I think we can manage. Okay. So now we want to talk about the principles, the modern work principles. And of course, we thought about what really could be helpful for you as freelancers. So we will dive directly into the first principle. We always explain the principle, then we'll give you an example, and then we have some questions for you so that you really can make the transfer what this principle means to you as a freelancer. Okay. So the first one is purpose-driven enabling. This means that when people find their purpose in their work, work can become meaningful. This is also why modern work endorses purpose-driven initiatives and becomes an enabling factor for the people at work. In short, this means that when you find purpose in what you are doing, you will definitely do a way better job because you know the why behind what you are doing. And we have a really nice example for you why the why is so important. And it is from Rosa in wonderful Mexico. And Rosa told us something that we actually really liked. Here you should see Rosa now from Pluxee. She told us that whatever we do when we talk to others, we are always an experience for them. When we have a bad day, we will probably be a bad experience for others. When we have a good day, we will probably be a good experience for others. The idea behind is that however we feel, we always are an experience for others. And this also means for you as freelancers that you should always also reflect on that. Because you have the chance when you reflect on it that even though you have a bad day, you know that in this moment when you are at work with some clients, that you can maybe switch in a modus that really works for the situation. Because in the end, you want to have or to bring a good impression to the people, and the experience that people have with you should always be purpose driven or purposeful, so that it is a clear kind of a clear why the people work with you. And of course people want to work with other people that brings a good mood, a good experience. And this is something we saw around the world, like how important it is that this experience is something we really have in mind.
How I can recognize what mood I am in today. So it is important that you ask you, why are you doing what are you doing? Do you really want to do it? And is it sparkle joy for you when it comes to work? This could be basic question to explore your meaningfulness, your why, because as a freelancer, it's even more important to know why are you doing what are you doing, because otherwise it will be chaos and it will be way too much work.
And we also have two questions for you so that you can really kind of reflect on yourself for a second. So please, maybe I put them in the chat. Please kind of think about what this means for you. One question is, what aspects of your freelance work bring you the most satisfaction and why? And the other question is, describe a project or a job that felt especially meaningful. How can you replicate this experience in your future work? And because this is a lot, I will also send you the questions in the chat. So now you should see them in the chat, and we will give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes to reflect on it. Our advice is to write something down. In the end, we will do this for every principle, so you will have a nice overview about what they mean for you in your job.
Don't think it over. It just may be bullet points for you. You can come back to the question and get deeper into it.
Yes.
Right now, just take your time, 2 minutes for the questions you have in the chat.
Yeah, and then we continue.
Yeah, for the people who have just joined, we are looking at modern work principles, and we are on principle number 1, which is modern work is purpose-driven. It's in the chat. When people find purpose in their work, work becomes more meaningful. So modern work endorses purpose-driven initiatives. And we are doing a reflection, and the reflection has two questions. What aspects of your freelance work bring you the most satisfaction and why? And then the next one is describe a project that felt especially meaningful. Oh, there are three. And then how. And the technique is don't overthink it, just flow, then we can always come back. Are we
Yes.
supposed to put in the chat or people will unmute and speak?
Mhm.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, so the 2 minutes are over, so I think we continue. If you haven't finished it yet, please do it later so that you finish in your own time this topic, and we continue now with the second principle.
The second principle called foster growth mindset, and I don't know if you know the theory of a growth mindset. It's by Carol Dweck. I think Niels will put it in the chat, also the name. She wrote an interesting book because she differentiates between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And in modern ways of working, we always foster to the growth mindset. In times of constant change, we must regularly adapt and develop new ideas. So modern work enables us to explore and to follow our path through this uncertainty. So people need a context for the development. So if you think when you have to learn something new, or if you have a challenge in front of us, what do you think? Do you think, oh, no, I cannot do that, I will not do that, it will be stress, it will be uncertainty? Or do you think, oh, it can be challenging, but it could be an also interesting chance to learn new? So in a very simple way, that's the differentiation between fixed mindset and growth mindset. And nothing of it is bad or better. It's only different. So think about in which contexts do you think more fixed, or in which context do you are more flexible, more up to the challenge. So that's an interesting thing. And we brought you a very interesting and very lovely example from Mongolia. Here you can meet Hulan. She's the founder of Lamour. Lamour is the first skincare brand in Mongolia and from Mongolia. And she has a very growth mindset because of two things happened during her phase of founding. In the beginning, she wrote down all the recipes for the cream and for the oil and hair products. And then someone stole her notebook and all recipes were gone. So what could be the chance here? So for her, it was like, okay, let's sit down and rewrite all recipes. And she came up with even better recipes at the end. So it was a setback to have the stolen notebook and no recipes anymore, but it was definitely a highlight for her to have, after all the learnings, to rewrite the recipes and make it better. And the second part is that she was in a lot of struggle because a lot of people don't believe in her. They always said, you are crazy, you are so crazy, we are so sorry for you, but it will not work here in Mongolia. And guess what? She said, no, it will work. I believe into my idea. I believe that we can success. And now she is selling around the world.
So I think this is a really nice example because there was a person who really had a super hard time and could have easily given up without without any explanation because it was so obvious to give up, but she decided to really stick to what she thinks makes sense for herself, for her country, for her company, and enabled herself to grow. And I think this is something that we quite often have in situations, right? When you had a really bad week and you are not sure why you are doing what you are doing. But when you then think about solutions, about possibilities, maybe even about something good that it can come up out of this bad week, this bad situation, you start thinking differently about it. And I think that is the beauty of the growth mindset. And here, of course, we also have two questions for you so that you can reflect on your own growth mindset and your own experience. Because I think, especially as a freelancers, you need to be tough when it comes to your mindset, because so often there are clients that don't reply the way you want, that they maybe said yes first and they say no afterwards. So you need to be resilient and you need to really think forward all the time, because nobody else is doing the job for you.
And we all have the fixed and the growth mindset inside of us. It's like a muscle you can train if you rewire and rethink what you normally think.
We have two questions for you also for this, and I will put it directly into the chat. It's about fostering growth mindset, and here you have the two questions. Write down how your brain ticks when it comes to your challenges. How do you react? And the other one is, how can you turn a current uncertainty in your business into an opportunity of growth? So pick something that doesn't work well right now and think about how can you use this as an advantage, because you already have this experience.
The technique is called reframing, like putting a bad situation in a new frame and rethink it.
So again, you have 2 to 3 minutes reflection time. We will always do that, so you really can use the principle for your own work. So please write down your last sentences and then we will continue. Because we cannot see you on our screen, we just see your names right now. Can you please send us an emoji how the principles so far are for you, and if you can do something with them? Please be creative. Give us an emoji so that we know where you are right now, or better said, like what your mood is right now regarding the modern work principles. Any emojis you have for us?
And all emojis are allowed. Thinking about was one, yes.
Mhm.
Or maybe do you have a question for us?
Okay, so far no questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand, your digital hand, and then we will see it. If we don't see it, Andrew, because we are on the other screen looking, you will let us know, right? Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Then I would say we continue with the next principle, and this is one that I really like. So the next principle is people first approaches. When you think about people first approaches, it's super important to deciding whether a decision is good for the people or for the power. And one should always be guided by the decision closer to the people, because modern work is all about connecting the people. It's all about being people focused. So people first approaches means that however your decision is, you should always think about, is it what you do something good for the people, something helpful, something that will make them learn and grow, or is it just good for the business? And we would always say it's important that you have decisions that are people first decisions, so that you really focus on that it's good for the people you are working with. And we also, of course, have an interesting example, this time from the Silicon Valley, and we will show you whom we met there. We have Q from Papers, and Q is the head of people at Papers, and he did something quite dramatically. When he started his new position at Papers, he got rid of all his regular appointments. So his calendar was blank, at least for a few days. His idea was that when it's urgent for people to meet with him, normally he doesn't have the time because he has so many regular meetings. So he wanted to change this completely and drastically. He got rid of all his appointments, which means when somebody in the company had an issue, a problem, he is now always able to meet with them the same day or latest the next day. This is a really good example for people first decisions, because he could have maybe had an easier life just going on with the regular meetings, but he thought he wants to be as better help for the others, which means he needs to be approachable. So in his case, he had to change something with his schedule so that he really can be there for the people who need him the most in that specific moment. And I think it's a really nice example because it shows us that even kind of small changes can have a big impact, because it changes completely how people can reach out to Q. So we have also, of course, when it comes to this principle, also two questions with us, but maybe also for you, like when you think about people first decisions, really reflect also on what it means to do something good for the people you are working with, especially as a freelancer, because when you work as a freelancer with the people, it's of course super important that you are doing a good job, and not only like content wise, but also in the way you communicate, you deal with the others. And the question, of course, for you is what is important so that you can do the best job possible. Here again, for the people first approaches, we brought two questions with you that you also now can see in the chat. Question number one is, what steps can you take to involve clients in the decision-making progress to better meet their needs? So include them. We love to do that. And question number two is, what would you do in order to put people first, even though there could be more lucrative decisions? So think about that also if you have a long-term strategy that could really make a change. Again, you have 2 to 3 minutes for reflection time for yourself. Use it wisely, and then we continue with principle number 4.
Okay. For people who came in late, like Jones, I'm going to give you a quick. Yeah. So we are looking at modern work principles. We are on principle number 3. Principle number 1 was about purpose, and we had a reflection. I have pinned the principles in the chat. You should see them. Then principle number 2 was about growth mindset, with also reflections which are in the chat. Now we are on principle number 3, which is the people first approaches, and the reflection is also in the chat. Hope, Jones, you are now on the same page with us.
Thank you, Andrew, for explaining and also having an eye on the chat. That is also really helpful for us. For those of you who already finished the exercise, do you have an answer, something you wrote down that you would like to share with the others? That would be really nice. So anybody of you who can share something that you wrote down that maybe is also beneficial for the others? Don't be shy.
No harm.
Okay.
So maybe I can share an example.
That's a good idea.
So like when it comes to people first approaches, I like to think back to our modern work tour. We went to the Lebanon there, and we met a very interesting IT company. And they had the chance to get invest from the United States, and they decided against the invest because they would had to move to the United States, and they would have been just another company between many in the Silicon Valley. And they decided, no, we will not do that because we will lose the impact we have on our community here in our country, in our city, in our space. So, and I think that's a very noble and a very meaningful thing to do, because why it is so important for modern ways of working contexts. Because like when you think about, we have to think about how to enable people and how to empower people. And to empower and enable people is that we create impact, or at least the feeling of impact within the people. So it is very interesting to think about what we can do that the people think they have power in form of impact to the people, to the community they are living and working in.
And maybe also an example from us. We are not freelancers, but we are a really small boutique consultancy. And we have our standard fees. But sometimes somebody comes to us and asks us if we can work with them. And what they can offer us fee-wise is it's way less than we normally take. But if we think it is really beneficial and it's an interesting topic, we sometimes still say yes, because we then also again say like, okay, it's a people first decision. It's maybe not the best for our business, but it is something that makes sense, because we are really doing something good with that. And I think this is also something as freelancers that we once in a while can do or should do. The same goes with voluntary work. So sometimes we do voluntary projects where we get no money for it, but we see a lot of purpose for the project or for the topic, for the session. And you never know if somebody sees you there that really likes you and will come back to you and get you a job, right? We already had that as well, which is a really nice benefit, but it's not something you can plan with, but it's something that can happen only because you do an extra step that you don't need to do, but you still can do it, right?
And don't forget, people buy from other people and not only the products. And here with the example of Niels, we can show you that we include all principles we already mentioned. So why we are doing it, because it's more important to us to spread the word about modern ways of working. What is the challenge behind that? For example, to present and speak in English with a foreign crowd. So it's very interesting, and for me, it's very challenging. And people first, like, so how we can improve that the people understand better what modern ways of working means.
Yes. Okay, guys, then let's jump to the next principle.
No questions?
I think we already had the questions.
Had we?
Yes, we now go to the
Ah,
next
yeah,
one.
okay.
Mhm.
Good. So the next principle is the fourth one, and it's called skill-based initiatives. So if someone is good at something, give them the space they need to excel. Modern work supports skill-orientated initiatives to help people embrace what they are good at and what they strive for. Why is that so important? Because you have to know what you are good at to perform in a good way. So it is not only important that you know what you are good at, that you also can look at other people and understand what they are good at. Because if we look at automation, AI, the work we will have in the future will be different in a way. So it will be one of the most important things in the future to really understand what is the skill we can strive for and what we can do, what we are good at. So, and we have one example from Panama City in Panama at Sinley. And at Sinley, it's very interesting because sometimes you have times where you have a very urgent topic or a very urgent project. And at Sinley, they install projects like ninja projects or so-called ninja projects. Ninjas are the people in the company with very exquisite skills, and they can work on the urgent topics. So if they something comes up, which is urgent or even important, they combine a group of people, hand selected with very extraordinary skills, to work on that in a very short period of time. And that's why it's called Ninja Project. High skills and very short and limited time. And I think it is a very interesting concept to bring all what you bring into the company or into your work, to show it and to work for it.
And I think the interesting part also for you can be that sometimes there is such an urgent topic where maybe a company has no time to kind of come up with a budget for it, but still they need external help. And if it's not too big, it could also be, again, something where you say, for this thing, because you know it's so important for them, you volunteer, because you know that when you do a good job there, the chances are quite high that they also will work with you later on, but of course then on a money-based principle, right? So you never know what happens when you put the skill-based initiatives first. And of course, it also means, again, that it's really important that you know your skills so that you can talk about it, so that you can include them. And here again, we have a little reflection session for you, as you may already know. And we wrote it also in the chat again. I will send it now. And the two questions are the following. Identify a project where you utilized your skills to their fullest. What made this project successful? And the second one, how can you create opportunities to further develop and showcase your key skills? So think about that. I think it's one of the most important ones for freelancers, because you need to know what you are good at and you need to be able to talk about it. So 2 minutes again for you, and then we continue with the next one.
Yeah, then also my friend Gilbert, who has just joined, we are on principle number 4. We are looking at modern work principles. Yeah, you're asking whether you should write the answers here. Should here someone wants to write their answers in the chat? Is it okay? Yeah, Gilbert, I think it's okay for you to do so.
You can write it down. You can share it with us with pleasure, but it's not mandatory. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So Gilbert, principle number 1 was purpose-driven. Modern work is purpose-driven. The reflections are also in the chat. Principle 2, growth mindset. Principle 3, people-first approaches. Then principle 4 is the skill-based initiatives, where you joined. I think that one you got it well.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where we are.
Thank you, Andrew. Wonderful host and facilitator so far. I like it. Okay, we give you another minute so that you can write down your own thoughts. If you are already finished, take the time to take a sip. Drinking is also important. And then we continue in a minute. Okay. Yes, I love what you wrote. I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly. Kyocera, maybe. What you wrote, that it's super important to know it, to fully using our skills to the full potential. And it's really about that. In a company, it can be that maybe your manager talks to you with you about your skills, and you find out together how to talk about it and how to really condense them. When you are a freelancer, this is all your responsibility. And sometimes it can be tough because there are so many things you have to do, right? When you have your own business. But with the skills, it's really crucial, because when you pitch yourself, you need to be able to talk about what you are good at, and you need to feel comfortable doing that. So it's not enough to be skillful. It's super crucial that you can really talk about it.
And if you now recognize that you are challenged by this exercise or reflection, because sometimes it's hard to reflect on our strengths by ourselves, go for it and ask other people. Feel free to say like that you had a webinar with crazy people from Germany, and they told you that it's important to know what skills you have and what you are good at, and ask the people about what they think you are good at, and what makes you extraordinary. And it's not fishing for compliments. It's more like, let's find about this together. So it's okay to ask about it if you are not sure, because sometimes a reflection by someone else can be a better one for you.
Yes. And by the way, if you are using LinkedIn, there you also have the chance that former clients write like a recommendation or a public feedback for you. This is something that, at least in Germany and Europe, works really well. And it's also quite important for many, so that people see that somebody else was writing something about you and your skills. So if you have never done that, but you are on LinkedIn, definitely try it out. It's really helpful, and it helps you also building trust, because other people are writing about you. Okay, so then I would say, before we go into a break, we jump into the next principle. I start with that one. So it is sustainability, the next principle. What does it mean? With limited resources, we have to decide how sustainable we are willing to be. So modern work stands for social and sustainable solutions in relation to each other, and of course also our planet, as opposed to quick profits and cheap quality. And I think that's really an important one, because when we are talking about quality, we think it's always important to have the best quality that you can give to others. Doesn't matter if it's a product or is it a service, but people remember if you did a really good job. And I think when it comes to sustainability, there are so many different things we can do in order to become a little bit more sustainable step by step. And we have a really great example for sustainability from Uganda back in 2020 when we were
18.
there.
No,
No, it was
20.
20.
You're
Yeah.
right.
And we will show you. Maybe you know her. If not, please follow her on social media. She's a wonderful person. So here you can see her. It's Leah from Uganda, and she has this beautiful initiative, Birthday Trees, and also our Trees for Africa initiative that we built together.
Why is sustainability so important? Leah shows us. She recognized on her 13th birthday that Uganda will be in the future one of the most challenged countries in the world when it comes up to climate change. And she decided she don't want presents anymore for her birthday at 13 years. I think that's impressive. I wasn't so much sure at that age. And she decided she will plant trees instead. So she wished for trees. And now she has a huge company, not company, initiatives for birthday trees where you can spend money, but also can plant the trees with her. So we planted, I think, 100 trees in Uganda together. So it was a huge thing. And I think sometimes it's little things like Hulan. We already discussed Hulan. She, for example, decided to have a plastic-free packaging for her products. Leia choose to plant trees, and all around the world we now know people who are think about the planet and the people, and especially how we can live in a balanced and healthy way with each other and with our surrounding, with our planet.
So the question is not like, am I sustainable with everything, or do I don't care and I'm not sustainable at all? The question is, how sustainable can we be? In our case, for example, because we were traveling a lot, it was quite clear that overall we are not really sustainable. So something we did was, for example, this whole tree planting initiatives that we did together with Leah. Something else what we did now on our last journey was that we, for every bus ride we took through Central America and South America, we always kind of donated money so that there can be some great initiatives supported with that. And now I think we have a hand up somewhere. Please talk to us. I don't know. I don't see you right now, but please
Yeah,
talk.
someone raised their hand. You unmute and ask. Or was it a mistake?
Or maybe it was a mistake, or maybe the person will come.
Yeah, he's typing. He
Just
says he's
type.
muted. Yeah.
Okay. There is a message in the chat. Let me just type. But there's also another question from Gilbert. How do I have to optimize my LinkedIn profile for a creative freelancer with multiple skills to be presentable to potential people that can provide work to you? It's a very important thing to do that. As Niels already mentioned, you can ask people for recognitions, and you also can write down some recognition. You can find the section at LinkedIn. Just go on your profile, and what is also important that your claim at your LinkedIn profile is a very good one, a very good subscription what you do. And I think that's the best way to show in your profile what are you doing. And if you are up for that, and if you would like to be a creator, a content creator, it's also preferable to post on a regular base about your project, about your skills. So it could be very interesting also for your readers.
Yeah. One thing that you always can do is that you use this info box on LinkedIn on your profile, because there you have all the freedom you need. So there really think about what could catch the people's attention, because that's in the end most important, right? Somebody comes on your profile, what should they find there? What should they read there? What should inspire or impress them there? And I think that is something you need to put in your info box. And now the question is here also, how do I have such great energy turn into great manifestation?
So I
Okay.
think the first thing is that you need, like, in German we said you have to hold your breath, like you need long breath to run the marathon. So it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So put your shoes on and be like continuous with your work. So don't forget, remember the people, and even in traditional surroundings, it could be interesting when you go to the, was heißt Werte auf English? To the values, to the basic values of your surrounding, because the most traditional values are a really good combination with the sustainable values. For example, if you say, we would like to create a safe environment for our families. So how you can create a safe environment if in 10 years your surrounding for your families will be very limited in Uganda, for example. So go with the values, try to make the connections that, for me, at least in my experience, is a good indicator and is a good opener to have the discussion and have the mind shift.
And in addition to that, for example, also in Leah's example, you have to be stubborn in a way. And stubborn is like the negative word for that, right? The positive word would be you have to be super focused, believe in what you are doing. And if you cannot take big steps, take small steps, but continue steps, because continuing steps are the most important things to really change something. And I think especially also in Leah's case, this was the most important part. Like, she started step by step and she never stopped, even though it was super difficult. And also there, people didn't like what she was doing because she was too young, too female, too whatever, but she didn't stop. And I think this is really hard, especially when you have so many people that don't believe in you. But when your purpose is clear, coming to the first principle, and you really know that what you are doing is important for some people, for the society, for the world, you can do that. But step by step also means you need to have a plan, you need to develop a plan, you need to overcome some failures, but you always need to continue doing that. And I think that's the most important part here. Of course, we also have here two questions for you that I will send now in the chat. One is that you can please access your current work practices for sustainability. So what changes can you implement to be more eco-friendly? For example, getting rid of plastic bags, if this is an option. Second question, what long-term strategies can you adopt to ensure your business contributes positively to the environment? So is there something in the long term that you really can change step by step to have an even bigger impact? Here again, take 2 minutes for yourself, write down everything. This is really important for the world, for Uganda. So choose your 2 minutes wisely.
So thank you for the sharings in the chat. That's really amazing. As a photojournalist, it's very important that you show your work. Like show what you can, try to be everywhere and in the minds of the people. And I think then you can combine it with your values and you have sustainable values even better, then you can combine it with work and with others. And that's, Andrew, really impressive that you already planted over 40 trees in this year. So that's amazing. I think we need that even more. So thank you for your job.
Yeah. Okay, so there's another question here.
That's an interesting question. How long will it take me to become a successful leader? So
Freelancer.
Freelancer, sorry. Leader already there. Successful freelancer, it depends on your business. That's the first thing. It depends also on your location, where you are located in Uganda. I think Kampala is the best chance to have a successful freelance job. And it depends also on how do you strive for it. So how really big is your dream and how willing are you to take risks and to show your work. That's, I think, one of the most important factors for success. And to be successful, I think it's very important to know what is success for you. So I think that's one of the first question you have to answer to you. What is success? And what within the answer I can do to be there in the near future, actually.
And like one small thing, when you see somewhere something where you think there could be a small improvement, give them the advice for free in the beginning. So they know that you are thinking about their progress, about their transformation. In the beginning, you need to try out different things because you don't know what will work. But it's super important that you go into action, that you start trying. I think that's the most important part, because the first steps, like from 0 to 1, is so much harder than from 10 to 50 or 50 to 100, because like the first movements are always the hardest, right? So I think it's also really important here to know that, so that when you really get started, that's the most important part. And of course, at some point, you need to earn money with that, etc. But maybe in the beginning, you can really think about creative ways how to just show yourself, present yourself.
And we are living in a network community, so I think it's also important that you give in the beginning. So then I think you have to give 5 times to get back 1. So like this is the number and rule about that. So think about that, and if you are willing to give in the beginning, in the best case, you get back, and you get back better and better in time.
Yes. We promised you a short break, so we will do that. And after that, we will answer the question or the comment of Musingutsi. Oh, I hope I said correctly.
Or maybe Simon Peter. I think
maybe
it's Peter.
Simon Peter. Yeah, that would be easier. So it is 10 minutes after 6. We do a 5 minutes break. So please be here back on time. You know, us Germans, we are really straight when it comes to be back on time, so that we can continue in 5 minutes. So at 6:15. See you then.
Since we don't have a breakout room, I am going to greet someone I haven't talked to in many years. Gilbert, how are you? We had a breakout session. I would talk to you one-on-one, but Gilbert Mwete, are you there? Ah, okay. Happy to see you. It's been ages. Before Corona, before COVID, we haven't since before COVID we haven't met. Nice to see you.
Last minute.
Where's the friends?
Das kann nachher. Okay. Das haben wir schon gemacht, jetzt machen wir das. Okay, everybody. We are back and we continue on time. There was a question, how has freelancing changed your daily perception towards life compared to the 9 to 5 employees? That's a good one for sure. Shall I answer? Or? So I think it changes everything because you know you are responsible for everything. And you also know, and I think that's the biggest benefit of being a freelancer, that whatever extra step you take, it will be an extra step for you and your business. And I think that is beautiful because in companies, sometimes you take extra steps and nobody cares and nobody appreciates. But as a freelancer, you know you do it for yourself and for your own business and for your own clients. And I think that is really wonderful because then it has a different meaning and the purpose is really clear. So I think it's important that you don't work too much, but it's also important that you really invest your time in your own business. Otherwise, it cannot take off. So this means that you need to find a good strategy for a good balance between working a lot, but also taking your time to rest, to reflect, to learn, etc. Because this is also part of the business. You cannot stick with the skills you have and hope that these are still relevant in 10 years. You need to develop yourself in order to stay relevant in the next years, right? So this is something that some people forget, and I think it's crucial to remind ourselves that this is part of our responsibility.
And I think, imagine like we did, like we traveled, worked, and lived together for 5 years nonstop, like seven days, 24 hours. So, and imagine if we could not express our expectation, my expectation to Niels, my expectation to myself. So I think it's very important to have this time of self-reflection and to really communicate these expectations and also the things you need, because everybody has needs. And for us, for example, the differentiation about me time and we time works very well. So we decide sometimes, okay, now we have we time as a couple, we time as business partners. But sometimes I always say, I love you, darling, but I don't want to see you tonight. So like, just close the doors, and that's just the time for me to do what I need to do for myself. And I think that's a very important thing, to be very conscious about what is work for you, what is pleasure, and how to combine it, or especially not to combine it.
And I think with that, we can easily jump into principle number 6.
Yes, because it's a good one. It's the learning and sharing culture. Learning from and with each other means supporting each other through sharing of knowledge, because sharing is the most value we have right now. Modern work fosters to learn and fosters the learning and sharing culture and embodies knowledge as the driver for success. So even if you think you have to learn everything and to know everything, sorry, but it's not possible anymore. So it's even more important what you share, how you get in with people where you can exchange your knowledge. So it's very important to install not only your habits for your learning journey, but also how to share this journey with others. Because I always say, and I think Confucius was the first one who said that, if you are the smartest person in the room, please leave the room. So if you think you are the smartest, change your context, because you always can learn from others. Doesn't matter how good and skilled you are. And one great example for a very interesting learning and sharing culture we found in Nigeria, in Lagos, from Magic Carpet Studios. At Magic Carpet Studios, which is a company who strives for to be the Walt Disney's of Africa, they create animation movies with African history, which I think is a very interesting thing. And because the business there is very like uncertain and very fast, they have to learn like very fast new things, how to adapt, how to create videos. And in order to do that, they circle and meet every week once for 2 or 4 hours, and one person is always preparing a specific topic, and then they learn with each other. They try out with each other, they pairing with each other, because they know if we do that together, we can grow faster. So I think it's a very interesting thing to install this kind of learning format once a week in a company. And you also can do that. We also do that we teach each other on a monthly base, that we think, so this is a thing, I read this book, let's talk about it, or I extract these questions from this book, let's go through that. It don't has to be a big presentation or whatever. It's only just the exchange, and you will find new knowledge.
So of course it's easier to do this within the company because the context is already there, but as freelancers you can do the same. And even if you work in the same category, in the same context, still you really can learn with and from each other, because in the end you never know if there's a bigger job that you can do together. It's quite good to know the other smart people in the room, right? So I think it's always helpful to install something where you can learn and share your knowledge. And of course, for that, we also have for you 2 questions. And I think for your own personal development, this is one of the most important principles in order to really connect and learn and flourish. So the 2 questions are:
How can you share your knowledge and experience with other freelancer or clients? And what free key learnings you made you can share with others for free? Where and how can you share them? So let's just think about, you already you also have here 2-3 minutes to think about it, and I think it's a great way to also explore your network in a way, because I think you already know as a freelancer you cannot do everything by your own. So build up good cooperations, and you show also the clients that you are flexible to work with other people.
So 2 minutes time for your own thoughts. If you have any questions while thinking about your own topic, just write it in the chat and we will answer it. So I call you Simon Peter now. I have a short advice for you. Very good. You have to go probably the first steps. So you have to be the proactive one who starts doing something, who starts showing initiative, showing ideas, etc. Because that's the best way to go into that freelancing space. And then it's always helpful to find partners, even if it's just for something small, but then you also can talk about that you have partners, right? We, for example, differentiate between purpose partners and kind of normal business partners. And that also helps us because with purpose partners, it's not about money at all. With business partners, there can also be like money opportunities. So also there to really clarify what is this all about. But most important really is kind of go the first steps yourself and not expect others to come to you.
And think about, is it a cooperation based on the money you can get with this cooperation? Because you have 2 or 3 people that can do the work. Or is it like, I can learn something else, an experience or a behavior or a skill. So think about these 2 things, and that can create how you cooperate with others and how you search for cooperations partners.
Okay, then we go into the next principle, and this is probably one of the most important ones of
Popular, at least,
of our
right
time
now.
right now. The principle is called diversity. So in order for diversity to succeed in our work, it is crucial that we break down prejudices. So this really means we need to reflect on how we think about certain people, certain groups, etc., and really reflect on that. Modern work stands for value-driven approaches while, and that's important, accepting everybody for who they are. Everybody is special in a way, so let's treat one another accordingly. This can sometimes be really hard and really tough. But I think it is crucial because you never know the history of the people that stand in front of you. So don't judge them just because you look at them, right? A diversity really means that you give everybody kind of a pre-trust so that you accept who they are, what they are doing without knowing the whole story. And here we also have an interesting example for you when it comes to diversity. And it is an example from beautiful Chile in South America. The example is from Joaquin. He is the head of people at the company Wheel the World, and they foster traveling opportunities for people with disabilities. And we asked him at work what work really means and what's important for them at work. And he said, moment, like, stop a moment. Work for us is really contribution, because when we all, that are all completely different people, come together and contribute our time to a bigger cause, then work is not work anymore. Work becomes contribution. And maybe you also have had this experience with a certain project, for example, that when you really dive into your flow of working, you forget for a second that it's work, right? And this is, of course, the best case. And studies show that when you work with completely different people in your field, and you are in a really diverse group of people, and most of the time, the best ideas come out of really diverse groups. And I think this is quite logical because it happens like this, because it means that you have so many different point of views, you have so many different angles how to think about a problem, that it's way easier to find a good solution, a good idea for your clients. Because when you all look in the same direction from the same perspective, you all see the same thing, right? And this is never good. So if you have not a diverse network yet, try to get in contact with people where you think they could really be a nice addition to how you see the world, because they bring maybe a different color into the picture that can be beneficial for you.
Yeah. Think about not the culture not the culture fit, sorry, because it's more important when it comes to diversity to think about the culture at. So what you can add to the culture, what is maybe not so normal or maybe not so given. So think about the ads in your society and not only the fits.
Of course, we have also here two important questions for you regarding diversity. Question number one:
how can you ensure your freelance work is inclusive and respects diverse perspectives? What action do you have to take to educate yourself and others about diversity and inclusion in your field?
think about that, write it down, maybe also even names you have to contact because of that. And you have around 2 minutes again for your own reflection thoughts. So there was a question from Mubiru in the chat, and while others are writing, we will answer that quickly, as good as we can. I think it is quite important that you are able to buy food and to live. And in the beginning, I think that is most important. Later on, we would always recommend that you really have meetings with yourself and also maybe knowledge exchange with others where you find out how your financial plan, your financial idea for the future is. In our case, like one rule we have is that we always try to put some money kind of back so that we don't use it, so that we have for a few months the possibility to, if we don't earn any money during these months, that we still have some money on the bank that we can use. um, I think it's a typical German thing to think like that, but I think as a freelancer you have the responsibility for yourself. And if you, for example, have a partner, if you have kids, if you have a family you support, of course, is even more important. Which also means when you have a really good month, don't spend all the money you just got. Save it or invest it in a strategic way to grow your business. One reason that we quite often see is that really people have a good month, they spend everything, and after that kind of they are poor again, but they could have used this money wisely for a few months. So please do that and think about that, because it is a long-term thing being a freelancer and not just like a few quick wins and this is it.
And my advice would be educate yourself about finance. Read, exchange knowledge, talk, communicate about it, because there is no finance department who will take care of that for you. So yeah, educate yourself because it's one of the most important elements in your business.
And maybe a short insight, what we do every month, we have a finance monthly where we discuss our finances, like how much money got in, how much money did we spend, are there strategic things we want to spend our money on. So every month we have a good overview where we stand. And I think this is kind of the basis that you always should do, that you have this strategic moment regarding money, so that you also can kind of develop and grow your own money mindset, that you know how you think about money, how important it is, what you want to do with it if you have it, what you can do to get it if you don't have it. So I think that is really crucial when you are a freelancer, because you are your own boss, your own manager. So you need to be responsible for that. And I think this is also really kind of matching with the next principle. It's the second last one, principle number 8, self-leadership and responsibility.
As a freelancer, you have more freedom, and more freedom in our action means more personal responsibility for ourselves, but also for others. Because if you want freedom, you have to be responsible. No way to differentiate this clause. Modern work encourage a high level of self-leadership and responsibilities while getting all the support needed by the work context. So it is really crucial that you know how to lead yourself, that you know how to bring you up when you are down, how to improvise when the things going not your way. So it is really crucial to understand yourself and to act on that. And let's stay at the example with the finance. So we not only have the monthly meeting where we discuss our finance, we also have forecasts, like we envision what we want to earn next year, and we differentiate 3 levels of that. We have like the vision, like that is a really like, wow, if we will get there, that would be yay, awesome. That's the vision. Then we have the mission. That's like when you look at the previous years, what can be, what's around the same amount we earned last year. And the MVP. The MVP is the minimal value product. And what's the lowest thing, like to cover all your costs in a way. So, and this we always discuss once a year, do a forecast, and then we lead ourselves, because it is a different feeling and you work differently according to that. When you know, so, oh, I'm nearly to the mission, and if I work or I get 1 or 2 projects more, I can go to the vision this year. So yeah, your behavior will change with the envision or the vision you get, or you have in mind for yourself and for your business. So I think that's a good example for leadership. But we also brought you an example for self-leadership from around the world.
And we have it from Mario from the wonderful company Vegas in Brazil. And he told us something that you also can use for yourself as a freelancer. They use it for company meetings. You can use it for yourself when you talk to others, but also when you are just planning and thinking with yourself. So in every conversation, they use 3 different ways to start their part of the communication. So either they start with, I have a comment, and they comment something, or I have a question and they ask that question, or I have an objection and then they have an objection, which means they structure their communication very well. Because when you know that you start with a question or with a comment or with an objection, you are really clear in your head what you want to point out while talking with others. So you can really use this as a tool for self-leadership, that when you are in a difficult situation, for example, with a possible client, that you ask yourself in the conversation before you start talking, do I want to comment something? Do I want to question something? Or do I have an objection because I think how we discuss it right now makes no sense? And then you really start communicating differently. And again, you are responsible for how you lead yourself, which means you can use, for example, these simple basic tools to strategize how you communicate. And here again, of course, we have 2 questions for you that we put in the chat for now. And there's also, I think, a question from Rachel.
Oh, okay.
No,
So
it's a comment. Nice.
responsibility
Okay.
is a big topic. You have it yesterday and today. That's great and nice to hear. Happy for that.
So here are the 2 questions. I think something went a little bit wrong. Set specific goals for enhancing your self-leadership. Yeah. What is it that you really want to include in how you lead yourself? So is there something you want to include that you didn't do before? And second question, how do you handle responsibility these days? And what do you need to improve in order to become better at it? Remember, it's a step-by-step progress, especially when you are a freelancer. So take your 2 minutes, reflect on these 2 questions, and then we continue with the last and final modern work principle.
And one add-on is think about the 3 levels Niels introduced you to. Like, is it a comment, is it a question, or is it an objection? And if you wrote down only questions or only comments or only rejections, make sure that you have a mix. So probably you can get also some information when you look at your bullet points, at your what you wrote down. Because like if it's just one direction, make sure as a freelancer that you have multiple perspectives. And if you don't have, maybe that is a thing you have to skill up.
Okay, so your 2 minutes start now. Okay.
So last but not least, the ninth principle of modern work with the name as transparent as possible. Be as transparent as possible. And it's not only important in companies, it's also important for freelancers. Why?
The more we share within the company or with freelance colleagues, the better we can assess our own action and focus on them. Modern work promotes transparency as a catalyst for better and faster decisions through openness and trust. What does it mean? It means that we need some trust to share something. Otherwise, we never know, right, what will happen with that. So there is like this issue that we cannot solve. We need to have some pre-trust. Otherwise, we cannot work as freelancers, right? Because there's always somebody who could steal our idea, who could steal our job, who could, I don't know, do whatever it is, right? But this is part of how the world is, right? What we need to do is to focus on what's most important, and this is doing a good job. And this also means that being transparent means that we are able to share, we are able to bring insights, and this also can mean that others know about maybe a certain topic where we are working on, and they can help us or they can connect us, but only because we were transparent about it. And we have one example from a really nice company in Colombia. They also worked on transparency, and we will quickly explain you why we think this is a good example.
Meet Sebastian from Continuum HQ. He decided in a very hard period of his company to really go full transparent. So he showed every data, every count, everything he opened up to his employees, and he recognized that after to bring full transparency into his company, the people not have been afraid of the crisis they are facing within the company. They suddenly accept the situation, and they suddenly feel the urge to do something proactively. Like, because they know if we don't act right now, if we don't come up with good ideas, we will probably not exist in 3 months. So, and it was not that they people say, okay, now it's a losing ship here, we will go. No, they sat together, they thought about good new ideas, and they created new products so that the company survived. So transparency could be a really good driver for crisis, for situation in that situation that you think, oh, I have to close up everything and make me small and everything. Don't do that. Be as transparent as you can, be as honest, and also in a way vulnerable, and that can bring you to other people who can help and connect with you. And I know it's hard, and it's like the content tier you would like to go with, but I think if you do the transparent as possible, you can create new allies and new cooperation that could be benefiting for your company.
So you need to be a little bit brave to be transparent, right? But our experience is it's worth being brave. Of course, you don't share everything, but you should always think about what you can share and what really can help you improve also within your network as a freelancer. And of course, also for this last principle, we have 2 questions for you to work on. Question number 1 is,
how can you improve transparency in your communication with clients? So, what is the honest communication for your clients? And what measures you can take? No, Again, what measures can you take to ensure transparency in your project processes and outcomes? So it is important that you think about the things you can talk about your business as clear, as transparent as you can. And if you don't match up with this kind of question we come up with, you maybe also can do an exercise I really love, like to collect 50 facts about you. Like collect really 50 facts about you. For example, I'm a good swimmer. I like to watch Netflix or whatever. Like, be spontaneous, think about what you can collect about yourself, and then go on a networking event and try to share a few facts about you, and you will be surprised how connected that can be.
So please take another minute for your own thoughts. So there was a question from Jackson. I think it's really important that you are flexible. You should not be flexible with your values because they really stand for who you are, but you should be flexible on how you work when it's important for a client, for example, that you just do that, especially in the beginning, so that they see that you are willing to put in some extra effort. Time management is crucial, and we always plan ahead, like the week, for example, so that you really know what you want to achieve in that week, what you want to do in that week. And time management also means that you know how, or that you learn to know how much time you need for what. Because quite often it happens that you say like, yeah, for this job, maybe it's like a half-day job, and then it takes you 2 whole days, right? So completely different expectation. So I think it's always important to kind of plan and estimate how long it will take you, and then actually count how long it took you and compare it so that you can learn from that you don't make promises you cannot hold, because that is something that clients don't like at all. When you promise something for Wednesday, but you send it next week Tuesday because it took you so long, that's not good. So
Not
don't
good
do
impressions.
that.
And I think time management is one part of the self-leadership.
Mhm.
The one thing is like to manage yourself, then it comes to time management, to structure, and self-leadership is like more the discussion with yourself about your values, how you want to do it, how you want to be your professional. So I think that is a very important thing. Like you have self-management and self-leadership, and that is a combination you need for a freelance job.
Oh. So, and this is already the 9 modern work principles. We know it was a lot, but we hope you managed to get through it. I think it's really important to reflect on how you work as a freelancer in order to get better, in order also to feel better. And best case scenario, it's kind of the cherry on top of the cake, in order also to inspire others. Because when you do that, that is kind of the best case scenario for you as a freelancer, because it means that you know how to really help others also to get better at these topics. So really start exchanging more about how you do freelancing and what you learn from each other.
And talking, sorry, darling, about inspiration, you have one very interesting inspiration in the chat when it comes to learning and sharing. So there is a takeaways from the meeting, and of course we will share not only the questions but also the presentation with you afterwards. And take a look, you have a full summary, and maybe you get inspired and even drop your takeaways in the chat. So there is a already learning sharing community here ahead. Thank you.
One opportunity we just want to present you. We have this Global Modern Work Award Andrew mentioned in the beginning. It's the 4th year now. Application process is open. So if you know inspiring companies that should apply from Uganda, please let them know about the award. I personally would love if another company from Uganda is winning the Modern Work Award 2024. The second thing is, when you are as a freelancer in the area of social media postings and also creation, and you want to be part of a global project, this is your chance, because we still could need some help when it comes to that. I will post the award website also here in the chat so you can check it out. If you are interested in that, let us know, write us, get the contact information from Andrew, or just Google us and you will find us as well.
Thank you. Now we come to an end of our presentation and our sharing with you from the Modern Work Tour from 55 countries. We hope you get inspired by that. And now we have also a little bit time for a few questions. So if you have a question, type it in the chat, or please announce it here. We are looking forward to it.
Any last questions or comments?
Can also think about that. What Niels add to the chat is our YouTube channel, the Schnells. If you want to join, the content is all in English, so you can go and see what we experience in the last 14 months on our journey. We also sum it up what we learned about it, and right now we are working on a documentary about it. So it would be a pleasure to have you on board. Please feel free to subscribe on our YouTube channel.
So if there are no other questions, before we give back to you, Andrew, just maybe a few last words regarding freelancing. We know it can be super tough. And we also know it has a lot of potential because you can do what you want to do. So never forget, it is not only hard for you, it's also tough for others. So if you really know that this is what you want to do, find your ways through, find your initiatives that really can make a difference, and be brave enough to try out crazy stuff, because you never know what happens with that, right? So I would say, especially in a country like Uganda, where people are so creative when it comes to different ways of working, use that. Use your superpowers that you have in order to create a freelance job that you really like, that you really can work on, and that you also can build up step by step. And with that, I would say we give back to Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think it was a beautiful session. We have finished on time. We still have 2 minutes. And I don't think there are any questions. If there is one, you have 2 minutes to ask. But if we don't have any, thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for presenting, the team that presented. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, same link. And Niels has shared in the chat the Modern Work Award. You can move the link. We have so many companies that are adapting to modern work principles around. I think it's good if they participate. So copy the link and share it. The YouTube channel is also there. And if you want to volunteer with them during the Modern Work Award and connect with their work, you can inbox me if you have my number, and I will link you. If you are very, very good at social media marketing, graphics design, I can get in touch, and then you can help out with the Modern Work Award. I think that is it. People in the chat are saying, thank you, you are such a nice couple. Yeah, I agree 1000%. Yeah, they're even way better in person. The vibe is on another level. Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
Likewise, the vibe at
Yeah.
your place was also very amazing. And I think we have one question. We can also answer the question like how to start or what strategy can you advise to start. I think it's not important where you start, on which modern work principle you start. It's important that you know the principles, and if you already now recognize that you missed sustainability, for example, and if you look at your business and you can put a thought into that, then go with it. So it's not necessary that you have all principles in your business, but take care of it, and yeah, give it a try to experiment with this kind of things and with new ideas.